Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances of Srila Prabhupada. Happy Gaur Purnima to everyone. I wish you a very blessed Gaur Purnima on the wonderful appearance day of Lord Chaitanya today. Today we'll be hearing a class on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse 45. And we are approaching towards the end of the chapter entitled The Passing of Bhishma Dev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. And it's a wonderful chapter, a verse for us to meditate on as we go and, as we enter into the mood of Gaur Purnima, being the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. The class will be given by His Grace Pariksit Prabhu from ISKCON Harrisburg. Without further delay, it's all yours.
Hare Krishna. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Sharan Bihari Radha, Sharan Bihari Radhe Jaya, Radhe Jaya, Radhe Jaya, Radhe Jaya, Radhe Jaya, Goranita, 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 Jaya Goranita, Jaya Jagana, Jaya Jagana, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gora Hari Bo, Vithai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Vithai Gora Hari Bo, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Privajagacharya Stotra Satyasi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Privajagacharya Stotra Satyasi Srimad Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Hamacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Charya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, सामवेद भक्तवृंद की जय, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hare Hare Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to your power. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya, Bhuta Vishnu Madhya, Swami. Namaste, Krishna Padaya, Prabhupada, Sthapani, Sri Gaura Karma Shakti. Narayana namaskritya narochaiva narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashta Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavata Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. So, happy Guru Purnima to everybody. And also continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this morning's text is from Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 45. Tatra dundu bayo nedu deva mana bhavat vadita shamshasu sadavorakyam katpetu pushpa vishtaya tatra dundu vayo nedu deva mana bhavadita shamshamsu sadavorakyam katpetu pushpa vishtaya tatra dundu vayo nedu deva mana bhavadita Samsasu Sadavoragyam Katpetu Pushpavishtaya. Hare Krishna. So the word is content to want to.
Tatra dundubhayo netu deva manava vadita shashamsu sadhavo ratnam khatpetu pushpavishtayah.
Tatra dundubhayo nedu deva manavavaditaha shasham susathavo rajnam katpetu pushpa vrishtayaha.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Tatra tantu bhayo netu deva manava vatitaha shanshasuha sathavo rajnyam khatapetu pushpa vrishtayaha.
Jai. Anyone else? Okay. So we'll do the word for word translation. Tatra, thereafter, Dundubaya, drums, Nedu were sounded, Deva, the demigods from other planets, Manava, men from all countries, Vadita, beaten by, Shamsu, praised, Sadhava, honest, Ragyam, by the royal order, Kat, from the sky, Petu, began to fall, Pushpa Vishtaya, showers of flowers. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Thereafter, both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honest royal order commenced demonstrations of honor and respect. And from the sky fell showers of flowers. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Bhishma Dev was respected by both by the human beings and by the demigods. Human beings live on Earth and similar other planets in the Bhu and Bhuva group of planets. But the demigods live in the Swa or heavenly planets, and all of them knew Bhishma as a great warrior and devotee of the Lord. As a Mahajan or authority, he was on the level of Brahma, Narada, and Shiva, although he was a human being. Qualification on a par with the demigods is possible only on attainment of spiritual perfection. Thus, Bhishma Dev was known all over the universes, and during his time, interplanetary travel was effected by finer methods than the futile endeavors of mechanical spacecraft. When the distant planets were informed of the passing away of Bhishma Dev, all the inhabitants of the upper planets as well as of the earth dropped showers of flowers to show due respect to the departed great personality. This showering of flowers from heaven is a sign of recognition by great demigods, and it should never be compared to the decoration of a dead body. The body of Bhishma Dev lost its material effects due to being surcharged with spiritual realization, and the body was spiritualized, and thus the body was spiritualized as when iron becomes red hot when in contact with fire. The body of a fully self-realized soul is not therefore accepted as material. Special ceremonies are observed for such spiritual bodies. The respect and recognition of Bhishma Dev are never to be imitated by artificial means, as it has become a fashion to observe the so-called Jayanti ceremony for any and every common man. According to authorized Shastras, such as a Jayanti ceremony for an ordinary man, however exalted he may be materially, is an offense to the Lord, because Jayanti is reserved for the day when the Lord appears on the earth. Bhishma Dev was unique in his activities, and his passing away to the kingdom of God is also unique. Om Gnati Brahmyasya Jnana Jnana Shalakaya Chakshu Omdalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Bhadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Vitapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Sirupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Sute Devi Paramani Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhascha Kripa Sunive Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivachari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Bhuvati Se Namaha Nanda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Himabhya Divacha Vishundarai Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadai Titaya Chandaya Namo Namaste Titaya Chandaya Namo Namaste Titaya Chandaya Namo Namaste Titaya Chandaya Namo Namaste Hare Krishna. So the English translation of the text again. Thereafter, both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honest royal order commenced demonstration of honor and respect. And from the sky fell showers of flowers. Okay, so a little background, we go back a little bit. So this is Bhishma Dev, grandfather Bhishma, one of the 12 Mahajans that instructs us on spiritual life. He also was actually a great Kshatriya, a great warrior, a great general. He led the army for Duryodhana because of circumstances, even though Duryodhana was on the side of wrong and the Pandavas were on the side of right or correct. Bhishma Dev, saintly Bhishma Dev, was asked by Krishna to do that service. The deeper meaning was to show everybody that no matter how good you are as a person, if you take the side of no good or bad, then there will be consequences. So Bhishma Dev's life was to prove that point. And that's why he had to leave the battle in that war, the Kurukshetra war, the way he did. But Krishna's pure devotee is always used in different situations. That's why we need to understand the deeper meaning of servant. When you're a servant, the master asks you to do something, you do it. When you trust the master completely, that means when you're loyal to the master, then whatever you're asked to do, you do. Serving Krishna can never be wrong. It can never be wrong. So even if Krishna is using a devotee to prove some things to us, then this is exactly what he's doing. Bhishma knew what was really going on, what Krishna's plans were, and he related wonderfully to Krishna as a Kshatriya. And we can learn so many things about it, but we won't get into the details of it now because so much has happened and recorded in Mahabharata itself. But this is about the passing of Bhishma leaving. And he left in a wonderful way. He wanted to remember Krishna. There were so many things about Krishna in the pastimes as they were unfolding in the whole Mahabharata, some of which he brought up to his mind because he wanted to remember Krishna in those times. And so he mentioned those, and then he also advised Yudhishthira, who was going to be the emperor, the next emperor. The demons had been gotten rid of, and now Bhishma's work was finished. And so he also had a boon to leave whenever he wanted to. So he chose that time when Krishna was present. He himself was on a bed of arrows, and he left in a wonderful, solemn way. And the text before this says everybody was very quiet. And then after that, then the honoring of Bhishma started. And this is what this text talks about. Both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honest royal order commenced, or they began demonstrations of honor and respect. In the meantime, demigods and people from other planets, entities from other planets were also either there or observing from the sky. Either they're present with Bhishma and Krishna and the Pandavas, and others were observing. And those that were observing from the skies, they showered Bhishma with flowers in appreciation for the personality that he was. It is very important for us to also be appreciative of our leaders and what they have done, especially Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This morning, a little conversation, we're talking about it. Even Srila Prabhupada just physically, sometimes some pictures of him, of course, he was up there in age, he was in 70s and then to the 80s, and he left the body then. But if you look at him, in a few of the pictures, you see his face looks quite rested. And in a few of the pictures, you also see quite a few marks on his face. He wasn't sleeping much. Just like the six Goswamis, they weren't sleeping much either. They were preparing texts with their own realizations. The six Goswamis, especially Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, they were writing notes after being taught by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they were transmitting what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught them in Prayag into books, some of whom we are in contact with through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, having translated and given purpose to, especially Nectar of Devotion and Nectar of Instruction. Srila Prabhupada wrote and wrote and wrote and was only sleeping a few hours a day, just like the six Goswamis were also sleeping a few hours a day. And Janamali Swami explained that they were quite sickly. The six Goswamis were also quite sick because they weren't getting rest. There was only so much time, and they were in an emergency mode. And they prepared so much for us before they left this world one by one. And Srila Prabhupada also prepared a lot for us. From count, I think it's 84 books that he wrote. That's a lot. With an average of about 7 books a year. And they weren't little books either. Some of them were little, but many of them were quite good-sized books. So the pure devotees of the Lord give so much when they come to be with us and to describe Krishna's pastimes and instructions about spiritual life to enthuse us and also direct us. This is what Bhishma Dev also did. He's one of the 12 Mahajans. So Bhishma's life was wonderful, and there was so much that we can learn from it. Srila Prabhupada said in the purport that Bhishma was respected both by the human beings and by the demigods. Bhishma's life and his training was in the heavenly planets. His mother Ganga took him back to the heavenly planets as a baby, and the highly learned entities there taught him Shastra, scripture, and also taught him the art of military science, Pasharamuni, and so many other entities, so many other respected entities in the heavenly planets taught Bhishma. And so he came very well equipped to do situations, to deal with all situations that he would be confronted with. Bhishma was respected both by human beings and the demigods. And Srila Prabhupada explains that the human beings live on Earth and similar other planets in the Bull and Bhuva Loka group of planets. Demigods live in the Swa group of planets, Swagaloka group of planets where Indra is. So we have Bur, that is the earthly type planets, and we are one of them. Bhuva, that's higher. And then Swa. Then we have other planets all the way up to Satyaloka. Janaloka, Tapaloka, Mahaloka, and Swagaloka, Satyaloka, Satyaloka, which is also Brahmaloka. So those are the planets from the medium up to the highest heavenly planet. And they all knew Bhishma. So Shiva Prabhupada continues when he was here as a Mahajan, he was on the level of Brahma, Lord Brahma, the engineer of this particular universe, the head of the universe, Narada Muni, Narada the great saint, who did so much, and he was called also the interplanetary spaceman. He could go from any type or level of planet in the three worlds and also the spiritual world. And he carried so many messages and also going around enthusing people about bhakti, to take the bhakti seriously. Lord Shiva, foremost Vaishnava. So they were all Mahajans. As a matter of fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 3, text 20 and 21, Swayambhu Narada Shambhu, Kumara Kapilo Manu, Palado Janako Vishmu, Palil Vyasaki Vayam. Those are the 12. Lord Brahma, it's called Swayambhu also, Lord Brahma, Narada, great Saint Narada, Shambhu, Lord Shiva, Kumara, the 4 Kumaras were taken together, Kapila, Lord Kapila, and Manu, the first Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, and Janak, Janaka Maharaj, and Bhishma, grandfather Bhishma, and Bali Maharaj, and Vyasaki, who's also Shukadev, same person, son of Vyasadeva. And then Vayam means we, and myself meaning Yamaraj. Yamaraj is the one that was speaking. So Yamaraj is also a Mahajan. So those are the 12 Mahajans. So what they do, and let me just read directly from the translation. My dear servants, this is Yamaraj speaking to his servants, so Yamadutas. This transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavad Dharma, or surrender to the Supreme Lord and love for him, is uncontaminated by the modes of nature, the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home back to Godhead. So this is the instruction being given this time by Yamaraj. And Yamaraj lists all of them, him and the 11 other Mahajans, Bhishma being included. And he says, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavad Dharma, this is what Srila Prabhupada is broken it down into very simple language for us to understand what the aims are and what the details are. The aim is to ultimately surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva dharma pariteja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masuchaha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 66, that we should abandon all forms of religion and just simply submit and surrender to the Supreme Lord, the Master of Masters, the Ishvara, the Param Ishvara. There are other Ishvaras, demigods. They are in control. Some of them are mentioned, in fact, as the 12 Mahajans, Lord Brahma, Ishvara in his right, Lord Shiva, Ishvara, controller in his right. But the supreme controller, the whole purpose of our religion, this Sanatan religion, the eternal religion, or Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga, is to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and develop love for him. So both are there, surrender and love. Surrender to be a servant of a servant of a servant of the Lord, and also develop love for him. Now, the Bhagavatam itself is not contaminated by material modes of nature, as Yamaraj explains. But those of us that are conditioned souls, we are coming from the point of view of sense gratification, thinking that we're going to enjoy ourselves here in the material world, when in fact there's all kinds of suffering that's here. So spiritual masters are taking us by the hand slowly to bring us up to the understanding that we're not going to be able to enjoy life materially on here, on this particular planet, or any other material planets. It is, in fact, taking to the Bhagavatam, Krishna consciousness, turning our minds to Krishna, obeying the servants of Krishna who are our leaders, what they say to do, doing it systematically, consistently, not giving up, associating with other devotees who are doing the same thing. Then we will begin to, over time, gradually develop love for Krishna. So we do, for us, Bhakti Yoga by instruction, listening to those who are already in love, who are senior and they're already in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pure devotees of the Lord Krishna. Always make sure they have pure devotees in planets where people are turning their hearts to him. So Yamaraj says it's very difficult and confidential for ordinary human beings. Because ordinary human beings, well, with so much sense gratification, this is the way to enjoy life, but they have it in the wrong way. Because to involve ourselves in sense gratification, after a while, as time goes on, you're going to realize that it is not fulfilling, because disease will get into your life and the physical body, and old age will also give problems. And of course, all kinds of situations that people do, as we call it, man's inhumanity to man. Well, not into man only, but to even other entities that are not in human bodies. It's the nature here. People bring all kinds of distress to other people. So the difficulties are here. And for devotees is to remind us that we're not home. That's the way we should look at it. We are not home. We are not in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, things are wonderful. The nature of the soul, eternality, which means there's no death. All knowledge is there. And the life is such that everybody is in the highest happiness, bliss, all of the time. This is life in our home. And we are not these bodies. These bodies are also, as we know, people die, give up these bodies. And so the Bhagavatam, or developing love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is our situation. We don't know how to love the Lord. And so we are being trained on doing things to serve the Lord, because when you look at a situation where somebody's in love with another person, when they love them, naturally they do things for them. They may give them gifts, they may watch what they need, and then the other person needs, and they try to supply those needs. It's physical, sometimes it's emotional, in all kinds of ways, they supply that need. And so that's when a person, and of course also they think of their lover a lot. That's another thing. So since we've fallen out of that kind of relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, We are being taken the other way. A person that is in love naturally serves the one they love, naturally helps the one they love, naturally connects with the one they love. But since we've fallen out of love with Krishna, so now we're being trained on how to do things that Krishna approves of. And so through that, by instruction, we do service until we get used to it, becomes habit. And then Krishna's own potency, he begins to awaken the dormant love that's there. So for us, we're going the opposite way by the mercy of the Lord. A person that's in love naturally serves. The person that's not in love, that's being taught how to love Krishna, will have to be told how to do some things. And then if they obey and do it, then slowly the love begins to awaken. And then we realize that this is the Supreme Lord. There's no other place to go that I'll be happy but serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees, according to the instructions of a spiritual master. And then over time, that love will grow and grow and grow and grow. And the more it grows, the less interested will be in material things that used to excite us. At least we thought it excited us, and we were all everything. We were all involved in it. Slowly, they'll begin to die off. So this is the situation that we're in, but it's a fortunate situation. We're unfortunate because life is difficult in Kali Yuga, but we're fortunate because the way in which we take to Bhakti Yoga has been so simplified that of all the services that we do, we also have to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and that takes us back home. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, to come back to the purport, Bhishma Dev Srila Prabhupada says was known all over the universes. And at that time, interplanetary travel was done by finer methods, subtle methods, mantras, not the way in which people are using mechanical spacecraft to try to go, and then they only can get so far anyway. So, Srila Prabhupada says, so, the information can be related from one planet to another easily, and people could travel from one planet to another planet by the finer methods, as Srila Prabhupada describes here, not this mechanical type. So then information went around that Bhishma was leaving, and so the upper planetary systems, the heavenly systems, they all got to know about it, and some came, and some also showered flowers, showing respect to Bhishma. In the same way, we also should have an attitude of being grateful for what our leaders have done and continue to do for us, even in this international society for Krishna consciousness. So much have been done by leaders, who have left us, left their bodies, and some are still here. And you can see even when their physical body is giving them problems, they still continue. We don't need to mention names. There's so many sannyasis now that are quite physically challenged, and they're still, despite what's going on, serving. We need to appreciate and recognize them. They are serving the Lord and putting their own physical body, even when it's challenging them, still they go on. Still they go on. And we need to be very, very appreciative of this, just like people were appreciating, and other entities in the heavenly planets were appreciating Bhishma Dev. When again, Bhishma Dev was a human body, a great soul in a human body. And Srila Prabhupada makes the point that when spiritual realization is there, that physical body is really surcharged with so much spirituality that on the outwardly it looks like any other human body, but it's actually spiritualized that it's not the same. It's like iron is not fire, but and fire can be red hot, right? But when you put an iron rod into it, after a while, the iron rod takes up the characteristics of the fire. It's still iron, but it doesn't look the silver color anymore. It looks red, just like the fire itself is. So spirituality, especially when the body is taking to spirituality to the extent like people like Bhishma did, then they're not the same as a regular physical body. This is also true for the spiritual master, and that's why we are told never take the spiritual master as an ordinary human. He looks human, but his body and his mind and everything about him is set for 100%, worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead and living life based on Krishna consciousness only. That, generally speaking, surcharges the body. We may not see it with our physical eyes. You see a person, it's like, oh, the same person looks like one of us. But still, because spirituality is their business, they have, the body is absolutely spiritualized to the point where we have to now look at this person as a special personality connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, and when people talk about Srila Prabhupada's disciples, when they talk about him, you get a sense, I can't describe it as well as they can. I remember one time in Alachua, we were there in 1998, and it was last point for, I think, Srila Prabhupada, and I know that there was some things going on. There was some disagreements, quite a bit of disagreements among the disciples of Srila Prabhupada who were there at the time in Alachua. So many of them were there. But on that day, when each one had to talk about Srila Prabhupada, there was so much connection of love. You could just feel it. Everyone that took the microphone and had a chance to talk about Srila Prabhupada talked about some personal connection that they had with them. They described it, and the emotions were very, 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 very high. These are the same devotees sometimes on material level disagree. No, it should be like this, it should be like that. So many things were going on. But when it came to speaking about Srila Prabhupada, they were so united. Srila Prabhupada is not an ordinary personality. That's the point we're making. Just like Bhishma is not an ordinary personality. So Bhishma was unique in his activities, and his passing away to the kingdom of God was also unique. Not many people have heard in the Shastra that lie on a bed of arrows and instruct the next emperor on how to rule and leave whenever they want to leave. This is definitely a unique situation. So Bhishma was unique in his activities, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, and his passing away to the kingdom of God is also unique. So much that we can learn from these Mahajans who instruct what to do and what not to do. In many ways, Srila Prabhupada is our greatest instructor also. And if we obey him, take his words, read the Shastra, read and hear the transcriptions of his lectures, there is so much that we will benefit from. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to stop here. And if there are any comments or questions, please unmute and start and then come in and speak about it. Because for the rest of it, after a while, I would like to speak a little bit about Gopanim also. So I'm stopping a little early this time.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. I was going to request that. I'm glad you thought about that. Very, very nice. Beautiful reflections, especially about Srila Prabhupada and the great acharyas and our spiritual masters within ISKCON. Beautiful, beautiful realization. Thank you so much for bringing our consciousness back to really focusing that we should not take our spiritual masters for granted as an ordinary person,
Srila Prabhupada is an ordinary person, any of the acharyas, and whatever we read is not just story, it's real fact. So thank you. Would like to ask devotees with any questions, any comments, any reflections, any clarification, please. You can either jump right in or you can raise your hand. Such a nice meditation on this beautiful day of Gaur Purnima, such a nice meditation. If I think devotees would like to hear about the glories of Lord Chaitanya. That's what I'm sensing.
I don't know, Mother Gita, you have something to comment about it before we start?
She's
Okay.
not available.
Yeah, maybe she just left briefly.
Yeah.
All right.
Not
Because-
really. It was a wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
So, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das. Anyway, so Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Adi Lila, there's a description in chapter 13 about Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. And also Vrindavan Das Goswami talked about Chaitanya Bhagavat, so both of them are there. So many pastimes are there, but this is the Gopanim, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming to this earth, coming to India. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, and I know there are some people who are, have come in not too long ago into Krishna consciousness, so I have to beg permission from those who've heard and know something, so some simple, basic things that we know about that I'll repeat as it goes on, because I know some of the devotees that are on the line and new. We know about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna came 5,000 years ago. The Mahabharata was the whole unfolding of Krishna's pastimes with his devotees, and he also was here not only to enthuse his devotees and perform on miraculous situations from his birth, but he also instructed on who he was, who we are, and how to relate to us properly in Bhakti. This is Bhagavad Gita. He spoke to Arjuna. Now, Lord Chaitanya is the same Krishna who came this time as a devotee. So he was born to again perform his pastimes with his, his entourage, but also to show us what it is like to be a devotee. So he took on, in fact, when he was born, not many people knew that that was the Supreme Lord himself that had come. He came in a golden color this time. Krishna is bluish black, very, very effulgent. Lord Chaitanya is also effulgent, but in the golden color. The golden color of Srimati Radharani, the same skin color as Srimati Radharani, her, the eternal consort of Krishna. So he taught his disciples about the glories of Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He taught his disciples everything that he talked about culminated or wound up in Krishna. When he was teaching as a young teenager, out of school, the grammar he was teaching, everything was connected with Krishna. So his mood, his activities, his words were such that he would remind anyone around him of Krishna. He was chanting the holy names of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, in a very, 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 very enthusiastic way. In fact, when he was born at a time where there was an eclipse, lunar eclipse. And at the time, the tradition was when there's lunar eclipse, then people would chant the holy name of the Lord. So even his birth was such that people just turned to chanting the holy name of the Lord Hari. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this earth in such a way that right at his birth, he was making people chant. When he was young, as a baby, he would cry. By the way, Rana Maharaj described his crying was not like a typical baby's crying. His crying was quite melodic, but he was still crying. And the women that were in the house found out later on that when they chanted the name of the Lord, then the baby would go from crying, stop it, and start smiling. So even as a baby, Lord Chaitanya was inducing people to chant the holy name of the Lord. So just prior to, this is from chapter 13, Adilila, prior to his useful life, he began the Sankirtan movement, day and night. He used to dance in ecstasy with his devotees. Sankirtan movement from one part of the town went to another, and the Lord just wandered everywhere performing kirtan. In this way, the whole world eventually was inundated by distributing the love of Godhead through the chanting of the holy name. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived in the Navadvip area for about 24 years, and he induced every person to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and therefore merge into the love of Krishna. He was here a total of 48 years. So his remaining 24 years, Lord Chaitanya accepted the highest order, sannyas, and that renounced order, then he stayed at Jagannath Puri, where Lord Jagannath is, with his devotees. He distributed love of Godhead by always chanting and dancing. So, and he traveled in so many places, and then finally in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the remaining 18 years is called the Antya-lila, the final portions of his pastimes. He still was inducing people to chant. So we can't overstress the importance of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Lord decided to come because there was so much negativity spiritually going on. People were into sense gratification, and spirituality was not being taken seriously. One of his close associates, Advaita Acharya, who appeared born before Lord Chaitanya came, requested that the Lord come and he himself turn people's minds and hearts away from sense gratification into Krishna consciousness. And so we have so much to learn, and we have so much to be grateful for to Lord Chaitanya. Today is a celebration of his appearance, or in regular American way, his birthday, his appearance. And so there will be wonderful activities all over ISKCON temples around the world. And here in Harrisburg too is no different. We'll have wonderful activities in the temple. Lord Chaitanya, a little bit more about him. He married. By the way, his mother, Sachi Devi, was very, 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 very close to his son. Well, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wouldn't you be if you were in that situation? So there's so much activity of love and between a mother and son. And in fact, when Lord Chaitanya finally took sannyas in order to preach effectively to people, at that time, people respected that particular ashram, the sannyas ashram. And so for him to be more effective in getting people to hear him, he took the sannyas, he went into the sannyas because he was a householder then. He went into the sannyas ashram. He was actually married, and married a second time, and then he took this sannyas, he came to sannyas ashram, and he was able to preach, and the end of all his preaching was the same: chant Hare Krishna and induce others to also chant Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is extremely important, and Lord Chaitanya came to give love of Godhead, because when you chant from the heart, then the dormant love that's there begins to awaken. The dormant love for Krishna that's there begins to awaken from the heart. The soul becomes more excited. And so much of his activities generally surrounded this, having the chant. He had so many pastimes, some of them in Srivas Thakur, who's one of the followers of Panchatattva, his house in the evening, they were having wonderful nocturnal, confidential pastimes of the chanting of the holy name and the dancing. And so this is to also tell us that the chanting is not only wonderful, we do it, we also have to get into it. The music, the dancing, this is something that Lord Chaitanya himself inaugurated. And in fact, I'll just tell one pastime, quick pastime about it. So in Navadvip, where they were, the leader, the political leader, Nawab Hussain Shah, tried to stop the Sankirtan movement from going on. He was upset. He was Muslim, and he was upset that there was so much being done by the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. And so he sent his deputies, his police, law enforcement, and he tried to break up the whole chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And as Sri Prabhupada put it, so when they came to tell Lord Chaitanya organized the greatest political, literally sabotage of them, because you cannot stop the chanting of the holy name. And so Lord Chaitanya organized 100,000 men, tumultuous chanting in the streets. And they went to the house of, sorry, it's a Chankazi. So I said Nawab Hussain Shah, I stand corrected. It's Chankazi. They went to the house of a Chankazi, and the Chankazi saw them coming, that many people. And he was very, 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 very afraid. In fact, he went to the upper floor of his place. The people showed up and they said, Lord Chaitanya himself was there. How in the world can you stop this chanting from going on? In Chaitanya Bhagavat, it explained that when some of the followers of Lord Chaitanya went into the Chankazi's palace, they went the first floor and actually broke quite a few things in the first floor. So the Chankazi saw his life was in danger, but the Chaitanya Charitamrita says that the Lord Chaitanya induced the Chankazi to come out. And then Lord Chaitanya was very kind in the way he addressed him. He says, well, there's a relation between you. There's an uncle type relation between you and me. And basically, Lord Chaitanya talked the Chankazi into understanding that the chanting of the holy name is meant to go on, and you cannot stop it. In simple words, you cannot stop it. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya agreed, the Chankazi agreed to allow the chanting to go on. The chanting cannot be stopped in this world in Kali Yuga. It is the mantra that saves all of us, that takes us back to the spiritual world. And once you chant and you sing and you dance, it is extremely pleasurable, and your love of Godhead is also going to be awakened in that way. So today is the birth, or called Gopurnima, the birth, Lord Chaitanya. We should all chant. There's going to be some fasting up to moonrise. And if you can, please do it. But we should, wherever we are, if you can come to the temple, it'll be wonderful. But even if you cannot, make sure that you do more spiritual things, especially the chanting of the holy name of the Lord this particular day. Hare Krishna. We stop here.
Thank you so much.
Jai.
Thank you so much for sharing the wonderful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, especially, one can never get bored of hearing that the Chankazi pastime ever. It's such a beautiful pastime, and each time I hear it personally, uh, I I get goosebumps because
Mm.
it's so amazing how powerful the holy name is. One of my realizations that I've been having is there has to be a reason why the holy name is called the Maha mantra, because not other mantras has the word Maha in front, which is great. So
Mm.
this is the greatest of all mantra, the prayer of deliverance. So thank you so much for really reminding us on this beautiful pastime, such a beautiful pastime. Are there any other comments, any thoughts, reflections that one would like to share this beautiful Gaur Purnima? Any words of wisdom, any sharing? Please do unmute yourself and you can just jump right in and say whatever.
Mm.
And just while devotees are thinking, if you have any thoughts, as we the temple will be open today from 1 p.m. on up until the program starts, and it's an opportunity for devotees to um, engage themselves in service and chanting and reading and just simply taking shelter of the temple. Sometimes we forget that the best place to take shelter is in a temple in this crazy material world. So that's why we are open, giving that availability for devotees, that there's a wonderful place that we can go to and do service and associate and discuss Krishna pastimes, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, a place where we can discuss spiritual topics and clarification. And it's really nice to do service with devotees and learn from each other. And we have the program will start at 6 o'clock, the festival on the dot, because it's a weekday. We want to really respect devotees' times. 6 o'clock, we will start right on the dot with the chanting of the holy name. 6:30 will be Abhishek, again starting right on time, followed by drama. We'll have two dramas, one by the little kids and one by the youth. And then we have few highlights to share with the devotees, followed by Gora Arti and Lord Chaitanya's Ekadasi feast today. So we hope to see more devotees coming out and celebrating Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, as we call it, the birthday. Until then,
Now, I'm going to say something else for you. I know
yes,
you
please.
made this, but as you were thinking, I was just thinking, I said, obviously a mistake was made by me for those who know about the pastime of Chan Kazi and Nawab Hussain Shah. But the thing, as you were speaking, the thought that crossed my mind said Nawab Hussain Shah is the one who imprisoned Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami as they were trying to leave the government and go where? Connect with Lord Chaitanya. Mm-hmm. So the point I want to make about this is the connection to Lord Chaitanya is extremely, extremely important. He gives love of Godhead freely. So Papa says people don't even know Krishna, but Lord Chaitanya came to give love of Krishna. Mm-hmm. The aim that all devotees have. The aim of the devotee is Krishna Prema, to love God. Mm-hmm. And so this is how the Chankazi is the one that tried to stop the holy name of the Lord spreading Hare Krishna in the streets. But he got put in this place. And of course, Nawab Hussain Shah was the one that Rupa and Sanatana Goswami ran away from this government and then came to join Lord Chaitanya. So we should also move towards Lord Chaitanya. We have Gauranitai, we give you most mercy. Gauranitai, the deities still having hands up like that. For those who are new, and I know a few people are, make sure that you have at least a picture of them in your house as soon as possible and then chant Hare Krishna in front of them. And so much will be there.
Or the gift shop has beautiful posters. I'm promoting our gift shop because we have two wonderful girls who are managing the gift shop, and they're doing such wonderful service. And they are really making it, they have revamped our temple gift shop, small. So please do come and visit our gift shop, because we do have Gonatai pictures, Gonatai small deities, going by paraphernalia. So please do come visit us. A quick comment by Colby Smith. Colby said, Hare Krishna, very inspiring pastime. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Colby, for joining us. Mother Gita, please go ahead, Mother.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
Chef mine.
Wonderful class. Thank you. And when you were talking about the pastime of Chand Kazi with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I just remember that Chand Kazi was Kamsa in Krishna Katha. I mean, Krishna's pastimes. He was Kamsa. And Nawab Hussain Shah was Jarasandha in Krishna's pastimes. Yes.
Kamsa and Jarasandha.
Yes.
Krishna Lila Gora Lila.
Yes.
Oh, the son-in-law and the father-in-law, it came back, hey, Mother?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Chand Kazi actually became a vegetarian and a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He had, Lord Nrsingadev had come to in his dream, you know, sitting on his chest and with the nails scratching his chest and telling him to better not stop the Sankirtan movement. And that's how he surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
So internally, the Lord worked on him through the Shingadev. And I think some of his soldiers also got that same experience. I think if not, I don't know, but I think it happened to them also. He was definitely, Chand Kazi got visited by Sringadev, that's for sure. That's for sure. Anyway, there's some more detail about that also. We can just go and look at the time.
I think we should have a day, you know, of just Chaitanya Lila and just sharing it. So sweet. It's like an all-day event.
We try to just go over it superficially this time because and I have a Bhagavatam and then that too. So
and you know, these kind of pastimes is so nice to just sit and just hear and just chant in the temple room with devotees around us and just really learning Lord Chaitanya. That's such a beautiful thing. Thank you so much. And yes, and such a wonderful sharing, Mother Gita. Thank you. When you said that, as oh my God, the father-in-law and the son-in-law came back. Wonderful. That was a nice one. Thank you, Mother. And again, please, devotees, let's use this day in service to Lord Chaitanya, because that is exactly what he taught us, is devotional service and chanting of the holy name. And that's all we do. And if there are no questions, we thank you all for joining us. And we really look forward to seeing you this evening with your friends and family at 6 o'clock. Until then, Vantrakarpatibhyascha Kripasindavevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Happy Gaur Purnima, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Happy Gaur Purnima. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We also.
Happy Gaur Purnima to everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nitya Gopal. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
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 Hare Krishna, Cole.